This is the part of the build where everything turns to spaghetti. The best thing I can do here is leave it to the electrical cooks. But I can explain something about the system. The wiring here is completely standard, the same that it would be in a house. You've got a 1.5mm system which supplies all the lighting, and a 2.5mm system which supplies all the sockets and the powers. That comes then onto a fuse board and a breaker board, which is exactly the same that you'd find into your house. That's the main system, but there are actually 3 systems designed into this. Because if you imagine yourself being on a resort, and most people will be on a resort, your power in to the actual tiny house will come from an exterior socket, which will be underneath the fuse board. So if you're actually parked onto a resort, you will be able to connect to the resort mains power, and everything here will operate exactly the same as your house. But there's a secondary power system, which is the solar panel power system, which is basically designed if you find yourself off grid. So on the roof will be the solar panels. That supplies down to the batteries, so there is a charging unit charging the batteries, and then you actually run the electricity from the batteries. So you're going to be relying on charging those batteries during the day with the solar panels, and then actually using the battery power in the evenings. The third power supply will come from a generator. There's always a backup system, and the generators you can either use petrol or diesel. So if you found yourself in a situation where the actual batteries had run out, or maybe there was a power cut on the resort, you can always use that battery, that generator, as a backup. Time to install the plumbing system. Now, in this kind of building, this kind of structure where you've got metal studs, there is no way on earth I'm going to be able to take the traditional piping, which is really strong and tough and comes in great 10-metre lengths. It would be absolutely impossible for me to be able to pass that all the way down through the studs. So this kind of system is a no-go. So this is where the shout out to Klaus Bauer comes from Pimatech, because he is supplying the German plumbing system, which is literally in its easiest form water pipe on a roll. And this is absolutely unbelievably flexible. It is superb. I can bend this in any kind of condition I want, around corners, up around through all the bends. I can feed it through all the studs, and I can go from point A to point B, 50 metres, 100 metres if I like. I don't have to have joints, and that's absolutely the least chance I've got of having any leaks. The piping system here is actually multiple layered. It has nylon, and then it's metal wrapped, and then PVC on the outside. So this pipe is completely capable to do hot and cold water. And when you do actually come to a joint, you need to clean everything off and physically widen the pipe. And that's where this very clever tool here comes in. You would actually fix this to the end of your battery screw gun. But basically, that goes into the end of the pipe, and that twisting motion there on the end of the pipe is actually cleaning. It is actually cleaning the edge, but it is widening the pipe at the same time, so it can slide into the push fitting. You can see that the push fitting is completely clear, which allows you to see the pipe go inside the fitting up to its full length. Once it's got to its full length, just let it go. It's sealed and job done. If you find yourself in this kind of scenario where you've got to use stud work and you've got to work yourself around those awkward corners, I would definitely recommend this system to anybody. So I'm going to put a link below in the description on this video, and then you can check out the website for yourself. So don't forget, it's Klaus Bauer from Pimatech Company Limited, and it's here in Thailand. People do ask me, how do you fit furniture onto a plasterboard wall? The answer is, you don't. You fit plywood in between the frame on the plasterboard partition wall. That's under the plasterboard, so you're fitting your furniture to the plywood. Who on earth fits furniture straight onto plasterboard? It's going to fall off. And building all of these tiny houses to the European standards and part of the EIA, as you would like to put it here in Thailand, the environmental impact assessment. In Europe, you have to have a very high percentage of insulation. In fact, they won't give you the building license unless you've got that high factor of insulation. So absolutely every centimetre we possibly can in these tiny houses are going to get the insulation. But sensibly thinking, if you've got air condition, and of course Thailand is a really hot country, we want to try and keep everything as cool as we can and keep the heat outside. So you've already seen the foil wrap system that went around the house. That's obviously reflecting the sun to the outside, which helps massively. But then we go into a 50 millimeter, 5 centimeter thickness of polystyrene to use this as the insulation. Now this is one of the top insulating materials. It's excellent. And then obviously if we've got to fill any gaps, we're going to go for the little slithers to actually fill anything in. Further than that, with gaps, if anything gets left out at all, we'll come around with spray foam. So we absolutely seal everything we possibly can. So that insulation is actually completely cocooning the entire tiny house. In one of the earlier editions, you notice that we put all this insulation into the floor. So the insulation then goes into all the ceilings and all of the walls. It is sensible, really, regardless whether you're in a cold country or a hot country, you're separating the hot and cold always, and that insulation really is the barrier that you need. Right, we're at the point of the build now when the water system is all in, the insulation is all in, the electrical cables are in and have been tested. Testing is really important because we don't want to be turning on the kitchen light and the bedroom light comes on. You haven't lived until that's happened to you. So I can now start the finishing. I hope that makes sense, but basically the next stage is to start putting on the wall boards. Now this is the base board that goes on first. On the top of that comes then a vinyl board, and the vinyl board is actually the finished decoration for all of the walls. So the board that we're going to be using is not plasterboard, It's actually made of fiberglass, and it's super flexible. If you've ever seen in those hotels, you've got those super ornate ceilings that with those lovely curves, etc. This is actually what it's made out of. It's fiberglass, it's super strong, super flexible, but the most important part for this particular build, it's fireproof. Fireproof is obviously a serious issue in this kind of scenario. And talking about fire, at a later stage there'll also be smoke alarms, heat alarms going into place, and your fire escapes. The bedroom window is a full opener, that's a fire escape to get out, so that's in both of the bedrooms, and the bathroom window is also a full opener, that's also a fire escape, something that's a really big issue in Europe. So, boards coming now, start screwing them in place. Oh, and that also releases for me the last of the construction of the walls, because it's a cramped area to work in, so by putting the board in first, then I can build my studs off of it to complete the bathroom wall. Makes my job a lot more easy. If you'd like to watch more videos like this on what Pattaya and Thailand have to offer, then click on the link up here. If you'd like to see what property promotions we currently have, then click on the link down here. If you generally just like to follow the channel, then please like and subscribe. It's not going to cost you a penny, you just have to click the button, and if you ring that notification bell, you'll never miss any up and coming videos.